Well, today we're going to find the intersections of queer, race, art, soul, music, and passion. You are going to talk to Lorenzo A Davis, aka L. Hayes. Welcome to Unapologetically Queer. I'm your host, Al Ferguson. I am proud to talk to some of the most interesting people from our LGBTQ plus community. Being a Floridian myself, I know how the Florida LGBTQ plus community loves to have fun and party really all night long. We're in South Florida, come on. I'm getting ready for Disney Gay Days myself in Orlando, hosting many events up there. And here in South Florida, we've got to talk about Premonition Night. It is the largest LGBTQ plus social network in South Florida, which will be held at Pride Lines on June 3rd from 9 o'clock to midnight. You also can't miss L. Hayes' private EP release showcase party on the same date and at Pride Lines from 5 to 8:30 prior. The organizer of the shows, LDP Vision, is Lorenzo Davis, and will also be honoring four remarkable people from for the Open Heart Award. Lorenzo A. Davis, aka L. Hayes, I have to begin and welcome you, and I understand you're unapologetically queer. Is that right?
Yes, I am.
Unapologetically. No excuses here. Tell us a little bit about you here in the South Florida community. All of these intersections of all of these things that you do artistically.
Well, pretty much it's just being there and being a voice for our LGBT community, especially being a Black gay man in our community. We have nobody really to identify or who are role models. So pretty much just telling my story and being truthfully transparent. So what I do here in the community is pretty much help grassroots organizations meet their needs, and also be a soundboy and be a visionary for them to be able to show what they've been going through and be able to let them know they could be able to do it and build confidence in them as well.
I love that because this is clearly going to be the widest queer conversation that you have ever participated in, and here's why. You're a recording neo-soul artist, health advocate, an activist, a filmmaker, project designer, visionary consultant, an entrepreneur, an artist, a singer, a dancer, and now this very white gay guy gets to talk to you from Wilton Manors. It's a long way from Miami's inner circle. Yeah. But in Wilton Manors, we're talking about people like you all of the time because the community, the central big neighborhoods of queer here in South Florida, which is definitely Wilton Manors, Fort Lauderdale, South Beach. It's a very white-centric LGBTQ community. So you give us an opportunity to explore that. What do you think about what's going on for race for you and in our LGBTQ community?
Right now, in our LGBT community, we need to stick together right now in this moment right here in South Florida. It's been very divided. But more people are coming together and really understanding that we have the same similarities as each other. LGBT, we realize that we created our own home and safe place with each other. So as I've been living here, born and raised here, I see that we're becoming more out of the closet. We are embracing ourselves here in South Florida and being more open and being more transparent, and that it's okay to be gay. So I'm glad more people are coming out in South Florida and speaking up. Obviously, I've been speaking out and loud and proud. Just telling my story and the trials and tribulations of being a Black gay man living in the world in South Florida. Taboo. It's very taboo. They went pretty much just growing up being a gay Black man. It was very hard. There was no one I could be able to talk to. There's nobody that I can be to identify, and the things that I'm feeling are emotions that I'm experiencing. Even back then, of being gay, what I was told was bad, or prostitution, or you're gonna have AIDS, or you're gonna die. That's all I was told here growing up in the society culture in the Black poverty area in Liberty City, in Miami Gardens, in the community that I live in, and my peers, that either you're gonna be HIV positive, or you're gonna be a prostitute, or there's no meaning of your life or growing up a future for a gay black man.
Yeah, I want to dive back into Liberty City and growing up in the inner city, but let me come back to the kinds of things that interest you and you represent. You're creative, performing arts, singer, dancer, performing arts, high school. What drove you, and what drove you to wanting to explore all of those creative outlets, especially the number of creative outlets? You're not just a dancer, you're not just a singer, you're not just fill in the blank. You pursue all kinds of things. What drove you to do that?
Well, first, for music, dance, everything. Well, for music, it was my mother. My mother was like the next Anita Baker that was never given a chance to give the light to even people to see her.
Great voice.
Great voice. She graduated from Edison High School, but unfortunately she didn't go because of the childhood trauma and experience she didn't finish. And she lost her sister in the process to the virus. So she was not able to even function right. So my goal is to be that therapist for her and help and assist her. But the music, when my mom, she used to perform everywhere, I used to always get the music from her and perform it in different places with a blues band, all across throughout South Florida and other states around the world, throughout the United States. And when I tell you, that's with music, it was always instilled with us. We have like, the family would get together and we do little talent shows. The dancing. The dancing got with my father because the time when I'm in my lonely space, I will focus on the things that brings me joy, and he always see me in the living room dancing. He pretty much connected me to an inner city group called the New World of Funk. It was a dance group where I first got my first dancing and auditioning, and I got in. And then from there, that's when I got into the Miami Ballet Conservatory as an internship, as a sponsorship, and I was trained with Ms. Ruth at the Miami Ballet Conservatory. I went to Michael Crop Senior High School. I was the boys captain for the step team, and then from there, I stopped believing what everybody kept telling me what I cannot do.
I'm curious from your seat. Were you running from your situation and using arts, and you were running from the situation, or were you running to arts?
I was running to Arts to Heal. I was running to Arts to Heal, and not only that, Arts to Heal, and also show people a reflection of themselves. So they can see what they're doing to our people in the world around us. We was once in a place where families and community gathered. We had that. I remember growing up, I remember so many families, I remember children was in the streets. Christmas was Christmas. Thanksgiving was Thanksgiving. So my film and making, that's when it comes to my filmmaking, that's why I show productions and I show the audience themselves. So hopefully it can educate them and teach them and help them heal through the process.
I'm curious also to your Black queer experience, inner city of Miami. It's a very different experience. Your experience growing up was very different than my experience. What does the inner city hold as advantage or disadvantage for you as a gay Black man? When you're growing up, does the community embrace in any way, or is it just a painful experience right from the beginning?
It was just a painful experience right from the beginning. No one would support even the SGA programs, even growing up. There was no education into the school programs at all. There was no materials about, there was very few, but they didn't want to talk about it. There was no promotion, there was no marketing here at all. And I just didn't understand that, and I see a lot of us walk around and we need assistance. So for me growing up, it was very painful.
It's one of the things that I think is really interesting in your story. And before we talk about Premonition and the event you're hosting at Pride Lines, I do want to talk a bit more about this gay Black intersection of growing up in inner city Miami and how important the influences of the people around you are. You write and talk a lot about it. One of the quotes I thought was super interesting. You said about your family, quote, "My biggest influences have been my mother and my grandmother, who laid the groundwork for the person I have become today. Facing many adversities, challenges, and stigma of inner city life, my mother and grandmother proved that raising 4 males to be different from the social standards set by society could be done. With their hard work, guidance, prayers, and perseverance, I molded to show the character, morals, and intellect of an upright individual, end quote. Gosh, there's so many dog whistles there. An expectation of what a black man is, and you fight it, and your mother and your grandmother fight it to say, I want something more from my son.
Just being a black gay man is hard. Back then I used to have dreadlocks. So everywhere I go, I would get stereotyped in South Florida. Even I was in school, getting good grades, doing what I do in the community. I couldn't even walk down the street. I remember I was on 441. I got off from work. My first job was Burger King. I was walking down the street, and I guess they heard I was this gay guy, and they couldn't believe that I was looking like them, that identified them, but I'm gay. And I was opening with it. As soon as I got off from work, they walked me down the street and rocked me. I ran for my life. I was running for my life. Everywhere I go, I would be in fear, not knowing, waking up, walking outside and get gunshot. Because over there in the area of Miami Gardens, Liberty City, the heart violence is always on the first 48. It's drugs everywhere. There's constantly people robbing people in that area environment. It's the program. I mean, in that time, literally, it's really bad time for me at that time. That's why I was trying my best.
Did you have a father figure in your life?
I did have my father, but he came later on down my life. And my father, in that process, he didn't understand my sexuality. It was to the point he used to beat on me to get the gayness out of me. And pretty much, he hated it. But in spite of he hated it, I forced myself, and I said, no, you're going to love me. I want you to understand I'm a different gay, queer guy. I'm not what you think I am. And by me doing that and still fighting for my love for my father before he passed away, he was my biggest cheerleader. He cheered me on. He challenged me. He did everything in his possible, like, my mom, my dad, all of them was my biggest they're my biggest cheerleaders. My father literally I always say to son, I understand how it is to be a gay man, but you make me proud. I don't care if you're gay. It was to the point that he was trying to hey, I know a guy for you.
So you got acceptance at the end.
So I did get acceptance at the end. Yeah. And the book, Lessons to be Told, it shows the struggles that I went through with my father.
A good segue. I just want, and I'll bring it up again, but let me hold it up. Your book, Lessons to be Told, Living in the World of Taboo, and taboo means the black community, for sure. Something else that was interesting to me that really surprised me. You surprised me on another interesting intersection of your story, and it's a story of LGBT, but a black gay man, which contrasts very dramatically from the majority of what we see in Wilton Manors, on Wilton Drive, or in South Beach. And that is a story about faith and religion. Now, we're sitting in the television studios, at the Happening Out television studios, on the campus of Sunshine Cathedral. This is the largest queer church in the world here at Sunshine Cathedral. But constantly you fight an uphill battle in LGBT of trying to find paths of acceptance and healing in religion and faith. And you were interesting in this because you attended Florida Christian Academy.
Yes, I did.
And when I read that, you made a comment about it. You said, I quote, "I found my passion, theatrical arts, for which I have a profound love for. As a result, Baggage Claim was created to help inspire and uplift communities and heal the broken and downtrodden. I've also learned to channel my creativity through singing and dancing and candle making," end quote. So this Christian school, you didn't find acceptance there, did you?
I did find acceptance that I was able to. It was a private school where I can be able to be myself, and they didn't look at me or didn't discriminate, and I was able to learn. I was able to be myself and focus, and now I can see and I can learn better and not be scared around me and in fear.
I've heard repeatedly that one of the big issues of living in the world of taboo in your community, in the Black community, that hate is, in an interesting way, taught in the place that should be teaching love, which is Black church. And that's what was so interesting to me in the contradiction here, is that you found artistic expression in this Christian school, and your love for things that you would go on to want to be passionate about. But comment on what you think happens to especially Black queer men, gay men, in church, and what happens in Black church. Is that an experience that you've seen? Have you heard Black men, Black queer men preached against in church?
Oh yeah, they preach against it all the time. But in the sense of being a black man, they tell you not to show your emotions. You want to be tough. You want to be strong. You're not weak. You're strong. You know. So you're supposed to be a woman. You're supposed to have a family. You're supposed to provide. Those things you really hold strong on them, and people look at them in this community like heavily, and they have something. They're looking up to them. And they have to hold that accountability for their family, what their value system is. So
what broke you of that? Why didn't you learn to do that?
I was like, no, this was like a generation curse. I said, everybody is asleep. It's like a matrix. It's crazy. I realized once I sit still in the noise, I realized at that moment that you have to pre-program your mind. What is love? How to love? And all of this is you and healing self. You got it already. Focus. Like I learned the basic knowledge of your brain. Your brain is designed to keep you safe. So every time you have any type of emotional impulses, pause in that moment. It's just your brain reminding you that you experienced this. Where your brain is going back to the time when you was a child, it's bringing it back to 10 forward now, thinking it's happening. It's not. So I tell people all the time, every day, you're not there anymore. You have control. You
know, it's interesting. Let's go to the event that you've created. Let's talk about Premonition Night, because that's the inspiration, what you just said, for of this creation. Premonition Night is going to be held at Pride Lines, and our beloved Pride Lines here in South Florida. The event is described as the largest LGBTQ plus social network in South Florida. Tell me, it's June 3rd. You're going to do an LP release party, and then the event at Pride Lines from 9 to midnight. Tell me about what you're doing at Premonition Night.
So Premonition Night is going to be talking about what we're dealing with right now in South Florida. It's going to also touch bases on mental health and talk about how we are living in a taboo. But you're getting like a inside scoop of what our communities and our individuals, brothers and sisters, are going through. You have stage performances, monologues. You have other actors, recording artists will be performing there as well. Full live production, and really we have another person that will be hosting. Her name is Trinice. Trinice Production. She will be hosting that Sugar Mama, narrating, telling the story about the community and what we went through, and telling the history of what's been happening in our community as you watch the process of Rhythmic Haze of the actual Premonition Night.
And this lens that's being told, so it's like a collective of arts, whether it be singing, dance, spoken word, whatever. It's a variety of combinations of music, theatrical, right?
You know, I'm a theater kid, so
yeah, I can see that all over you. Does it come from the perspective of queer first, or does it come from the perspective of Black first? What comes first? Premonition.
Premonition first comes the Black, the understanding where we come from, what's happening, why we do what we do, why we respond, and everything, and how everybody plays a very important role in everybody's life. They literally do not know it. We all do. So, and then from there it will go into the queer and what we're dealing with. And then it'll go into the queer of being a Black man and understanding the things that's taboo, and understanding what is happening and expressing that through art.
And so the presentation of the evening of Premonition Nights is to ultimately, I think it's interesting, you correct me in some of the labels that I said, to say theatrical. Theatrical is an all-inclusive word to talk about everything that could be done. Do I get that right? Yeah.
Yes, I will be showcasing L. Hayes Experience project there as well. I'm doing Intermission, where it shows a series of all the project I'm working with A-list producers, MJ Furlow, and actually engineer J. Anthony Beats, who's all been working with me in this whole artistry and building me as an artist. So it shows all of my projects and all the hard work that I'll be doing. I'm presenting it, the documentary live there at the Premonition Night.
I think it's interesting it being at Pride Lines. Pride Lines is one of the states, certainly in Florida, top embracers of LGBT youth and young people in community, and they're invited to participate and come and see what you're doing, which I think is very admirable. I'm wondering what the reaction would have been on you if you could have come to an event like Premonition when you're 15 years old, 16 years old, what the reaction would have been of opening your world to that.
I'm already getting the reactions from them already. When I see the kids, when I hear their stories, thank you. They hugging me. I've been doing this locally in the communities, telling the story, because I know the kids need to hear it. But for me, if I'm the kid, like answering your question, seeing this, I would say thank you. Thank you for teaching me. Thank you for giving me the resources, at least guiding me in somewhat shape or form. Because nobody knows. There's nobody showing. Nobody's being honest. So I'm being as transparent as if, God forbid, if I leave this world today, I want to make sure I leave a tool that could be able to help guide our children for the next generation, because they are our future. And I remember I was once with them and I needed something, I had nobody, and I make sure I created something where I can be able to do that in the process to help heal other people and teach them how to heal. So if I, again, answer the question one more time, because kids been coming to me crying.
Yeah, it's a situation where when you can't be yourself in school, you can't go to your library and check out your own books, you can't learn about your history, whether it be black or queer.
Oh my God.
It's a tough time for us, and you fight that by being at Pride Lines on June 3rd. I understand that you're going to be honoring people with an Open Heart Award. Tell me about that. What's that all about?
So the Open Heart Award, me working in the field, me being an advocate, and me being a part of the community, and just being me, I realized we don't honor the other individuals that's been really out there doing the work. We always come to them, we see them moving and marching. What about the people that let the door open for you? What about the person that was at the first encounter, that encountered it when you found out your first HIV test and they came and you were so nervous and you didn't know, and they kept you calmed? What about the individual where you met when you had a stressful time, you spoke, and they just said some good words to you? So I call it the Open Heart Award, nominating those individuals who stand in the area where they are and still striving and helping others. Regardless of what title or able they are, you have a heart, so we're going to honor you this and say thank you. We see you. And we believe in you, and that's why I call it the Open Heart Award.
You know, it's one of the things that I think is very, very lovely. You know, I make the joke of sitting from this is the whitest interview that you've ever done. One of the things that I've learned about the black community and the black queer community, it's a lovely sentiment that I think of when you say that you're going to present this award, is you give them roses, and do it before they die. They don't get to hear it. They don't get to experience it, and that's exactly what you're doing here by giving Open Heart Award in advance. Well, Lorenzo Davis, aka L. Hayes, has an interesting challenge for all of us. As I was preparing for this interview and reading about Miami Ballet and singing and dance and film and theater and theatrical and activism, you had a very interesting quote, and I want to put that in front of everyone. He said, quote, "The world has seemed to have closed their eyes to all the social injustices that are occurring every day. And like the Matrix, once our eyes are open again, everything will be revealed. Faith, hard work, good morals, sound goals, a positive attitude, and an undying belief will be giving way, or can give way, to a better tomorrow." End quote. Lovely sentiment. What were you trying to tell us there?
Once you understand stuff, And once you pre-program your mind, you're going to realize what's really important. What do you want to leave behind?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to leave your stamp? How are you going to help others? We're not here forever. So my goal is, while I'm here, I'm doing as much work as I can to help as many people and create a platform for the kids to be able to tell their stories. That's all. I want them to tell their stories and give them a chance, regardless of the ability to pay or anything. Help them.
Mm. Well, I encourage everyone. Your website is lhayesexperience.com. You can see all of his aspirations and projects in his social media. It's quite active on Instagram, Facebook, etc. Many worthy projects to support, especially June 3rd at Pride Line's Premonition, and this artistic theatrical program that is coming. It sounds very exciting, an interesting, a very interesting young black queer voice in our community. Lorenzo Davis, aka L. Hayes, thank you for joining us tonight on Queer News Tonight.
Thank you for having me.